Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Always Next Year podcast. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm your host, LJ Harrell, joined, as always, by Rob and Shane. Fellas, happy holidays. How you guys doing?
Fighting off a sickness, but feeling much better after that Eagles win on Sunday. I'm looking forward to this upcoming Sunday and hoping that Kirk Cousins chokes once again.
Also dealing with a man cold, and I don't deal with it well, ever. But I'm hoping for the exact same thing. And I remember sitting on the podcast like 2-3 weeks ago and sitting here having the conversation with you, El. And you were like, yeah, but you're going to fucking watch. You're going to watch, even if it doesn't matter, even if they're going to lose. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not invested. I'm fucking invested. I'm emotionally invested.
It's football. It's Eagles.
And
they always find a way to draw you back in.
And they're doing it. Yeah, they are doing it. So I'm right there with you guys.
So would you like to admit that I was right once again?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
All right, so as you mentioned, Rob, we are going to talk Eagles as the legend of Nick Foles continues to grow. He keeps winning, big game after big game. He's not very good early in the season, but when you put him in the big games, at least the last 2 years, he just comes out and wins. And that game against Houston, setting a franchise record, 471 yards passing. He had a hell of a game. Ref Smith missed a couple calls as usual against the Eagles.
Of course.
But he didn't let that deter. And, the offense, they scored again early. They scored often. And against a really good Houston defense. They didn't run on them because Houston doesn't give up running yards. But when Houston lost, their top 4 cornerbacks, the Eagles exploited that, took advantage of that, and they were able to come away with the 32-30 victory, which, it should have never came down to that. But
of course not.
Obviously, the Eagles want to give the entire city of Philadelphia heart attacks.
Thanks, Jim Schwartz.
I don't know. Josh Adams did fumble the ball. It's not all Jim Schwartz.
It could have knocked off another 4 or 5 minutes off that drive.
But, he fumbled the ball with what? A 14-point lead? Or what was
it? Was a 13-point
13-point lead with like 6.5 left.
It's not all Jim Schwartz. We have to give Jim Schwartz credit.
No, we have to give Avonte Maddox credit. Let's not fuck around.
Well,
Avonte Maddox is saving this man's job.
Houston was smart because Avonte Maddox was running stride for stride with DeAndre Hopkins every time he was on that side.
75%.
So what did Houston do? Houston moved him over to Rasul Douglas' side, and then Rasul Douglas can't cover him. Rasul Douglas is a safety. I'll say this every week. I said it last week with Shane. Rasul Douglas can tackle. He's a ball hawk. He can't run. They need to make this man a safety. But that's a different story for a different day, different discussion.
Off-season talk.
Definitely. The different type of moves the Eagles have to make. But, it was an awesome game. You were at the game, Rob?
I was
How
at
was
the
the
game.
atmosphere at the link?
The atmosphere was pretty incredible throughout the game, but the one thing I noticed is that when Nick Foles came back in after missing that one play, taking that shot from Clowney, when he came in, there was just this vibe in the stadium. Not only did the place go nuts, but everybody knew that we were going to win that football game when he stepped back on that field with, about 45 seconds left?
Something like that. Was anybody else shocked that Doug actually had Sudfeld throw the football?
No.
I wasn't, no.
Nick Foles threw the pass in L.A. last year.
That's Nick Foles.
Just saying.
It was down in the last minute, and I think they only had one timeout left at that point.
They had one timeout left.
Yeah, they were also within...
And it was just a fucking out route that he was going to overshoot anyway.
You missed that ball.
But he missed out.
I think that
just saying,
when Sudfeld threw that pass, they're still on their own side of the 50. Because then they had a big play to Ertz after that when Foles came back in.
Sudfeld has how many... Has half a game under his belt? Yeah, Even Ray, I was listening to Ray Dittinger today. He's even shocked that Doug had Sudfeld throw the football.
I don't know. Still, throw the ball, waste the down, not have to use the timeout, get it out of bounds. Then you just bring Nick Foles back in. If you run the football, you're waiting. I don't know. You got to truck Nick Foles back out there. It's just disorganized and fucking chaos.
Honestly, I think Doug just told him to throw the ball away.
Probably. That's what it looked like.
What he did, he just
it was just,
the sideline.
Here's your route, wait for him to break. If he's got space, hit him. If not, throw it out.
But that was my 2 minutes on Nate Sudfeld. No, but
the only 2 minutes he'll get all season.
Yeah, pretty much, unless the disaster strikes. But first, I'm going to talk about Deshaun Watson real quick. Being an Alabama fan, I've had to see I saw Deshaun Watson 2 years in a row in the national championship game. That man is really good. He made some incredible plays against his
escapability is ridiculous. And the fact that he's a hell of an athlete. Dude can run, but he kept his eyes downfield every fuck time.
And he has an arm. And it also helps when you have DeAndre Hopkins, who if the ball goes anywhere near him, he'll catch it. And, you know, DeAndre Hopkins had 9 catches, over 100 yards receiving. Like, you know, it helps when you have an athlete like him. And they had 0 running game, and he threw for over 300 yards. He lost to Marius Thomas, didn't have Kiki QT, had to rely on DeAndre Carter. You know, so, but... You know,
played out.
Yeah, you know, I thought DeAndre Carter was going to have like 200 yards receiving.
Honestly, when they put I was like, this is...
He's going to have a kick return.
I thought he was going to do something to win the game. No, but, you know, when it comes to Deshaun Watson, I know, combining names. Deshaun Watson, he is a uber talented person. He was going to win Rookie of the Year last year before he tore his ACL. Just like Wentz was going to win MVP before he tore his ACL, but... If he can get the right coaching, because I still don't believe in Bill O'Brien for him, even though they're up there as the 3 seed. Yeah. But, you know, Watson has a chance to be a really, really good quarterback.
As long as they continue to put pieces around him. Their running game was pretty inconsistent this year. It
didn't help that Lamar Miller wasn't out there.
But he's been really inconsistent all year again. And I know that it was... Foreman's first game back. Offensive line's garbage. I mean, you tell our defensive line that, but we didn't exactly get a whole hell of a lot of pressure.
Well, no, they did, but Deshaun Watson was, you know,
in the second half they got more, but Deshaun Watson was fucking ridiculous.
The way he moves around, you wouldn't be able to tell that he had an ACL last year.
Well, he's also over a year past that. You know, everybody tries to compare Wentz and Watson when it comes to their, but Watson had his
15 months now? 14 months?
Something like that, because Watson had his ACL injury a good 3, 4, 5 weeks before Wentz did. So, yes, they had this... And Wentz's injury was a lot worse with the ACL and LCL. So, but you know, like you said, Shane, you know, if they build up that offensive line, because he's the most sacked quarterback in the league, get a running game, you know, with that defense that they have, he has a chance to win some football games in this league. Let's go to the Eagles now. As I mentioned, Nick Foles had a career day. Zach Ertz, a career day, or a record-breaking day, as he broke the record for most receptions by a tight end. You know, just all around the entire the offense. Doug, he looks like a different, or it feels like it's different with Nick Foles out there calling plays. I just want to be if it's a big if they make the playoffs and if Wentz is the quarterback, I want to see this type of game plan, because I feel like when you bring in the starter, just like I mentioned before, just like with Andy Reid when Donovan was in there compared to when Donovan was out. You know, when you have the starter, you kind of want to you want to make them seem like Superman and have them throw the ball. No, have the same game plan. Keep the ball away from a high-powered offense. Run the football even if it's not successful, and allow plays to develop. And for Wentz, he just needs to, just like Foles does, air it out, give his receivers a chance to catch the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week. A big thing is it elevates the rest of the team. When your, you know, star quarterback and franchise player goes down, everyone comes to play, you know, with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, because they know that they have to do things, you know, a little better, a little crisper than what they would necessarily have to do for a healthy Carson Wentz. You know, so that offensive line was going to play better. You know, the game plan was not going to be quite as as one-dimensional. You know, they were going to do things to help him out, whereas you can for guys like Carson Wentz or like Aaron Rodgers or the Tom Bradys, you can put a lot on their shoulders, and you know they can make up for a lot. I don't know that Carson's at that point yet, certainly not this year coming back from the injuries, but he's shown the ability to be that type of a quarterback. But I think what you're seeing right now is just the product of a franchise rallying for their guy again. You know, and it's, I hope, just like what you're saying with Doug, it's a wake-up call that says, hey, the balance is key. You know, spreading the football around is key. Taking shots downfield, even if they're not connecting, is key. Running the football, even if you're not successful with it, is key. You have to give them more elements to respect than just Zach Ertz. You know, and you have to have some creativity and take some shots. And I do hope that it is a wake-up call, because for the people who still believe that Nick Foles is going to be the franchise quarterback at the end of this year, which they're all just, you see you shaking your head right now, I'm right there with you. He's fucking not. I love the guy for what he's done and what he's doing right now, but the guy's Carson. you need to do what you need to do in order to...
The only way Foles becomes a franchise, he has to win the Super Bowl this year. If he wins the Super Bowl this year, then you have to get rid of Wentz, because mentally, I don't think Wentz is going to be able to just handle it. But Wentz is the franchise quarterback. You know, people seem to forget that Foles had that year. Granted, it was under Jeff Fisher, but he wasn't very good in St. Louis. The first 2 games this year were very inconsistent. You know, last year the 3 games that he played before the playoff run were very inconsistent.
You cannot rely on Nick Foles.
He
for
also
16
gets
games.
hurt.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
He's constantly hurt and banged up. He came out of the game last week, played just for a play, sure, but he gets the wind knocked out of him. You know, for a bigger bodied guy, it's ridiculous what's going on, or what does go on with his body and his injury history and things like that. And the fact that it's so easy to dismiss that memory and to just put it in the back of your brain and be like, no. He's the guy. Carson can't stay healthy. Carson has injury history every single year. Sure, there's a little bit more severity to Carson's injuries than what has been for Nick Foles, but Nick Foles is not fucking perfect in terms of that health portion. And he's not a consistent quarterback. You're not going to get 500 yards and 4 touchdowns and explosive plays and spreading the football around all the time, because for every playoff run like last year and New York Giants game like last year, you have the Oakland game where it's garbage. You have, he played okay in the Tampa game, but you have Atlanta where the biggest play of the game was another fucking trick play where he was a receiver. Nick Foles, over the course of 16 weeks or 16 games and a full season, one, is going to miss time, whether it's intermittently throughout games or games at a time. He's going to be extremely good for 4, 5, 6 weeks, very average most of the rest of the year, and then there will be a couple clunkers in there, spread throughout. But he's an average quarterback at best. He's a really good big game quarterback, and is completely rallying from the fact that you got an entire organization who's coming up to play again because their guy Carson's down.
Now, you brought the thing about Foles up, but a discussion I want to table for later revolves around Carson Wentz, is his durability. And I don't know if you agree with this, Rob, we all agree that Wentz is the franchise.
Yes. But
they need to have a suitable, very competent backup quarterback because of his injury issues right now. It could be like a Stafford thing. Stafford, his first 4 or 5 years in the league, got hurt a lot. Now he's on the run where he's started over 100 straight games. So Carson just has to build into that. He just has to get himself healthy, and then he can come get on a run like that.
He's coming back from a really, really difficult injury. And while we can disagree about this forever, I still think that he should have never been in as early as he was. And if the back thing is what it is, he should not have been in there even longer at this point, or he should have been taking some time away. But just like you said, and Stafford's a great point. Like that's a guy who's still growing into their NFL body. Like Ben Roethlisberger was not as big and strong and solid, we'll say, until he was 27, something like that. 26, 27, 28. Like, it takes a little bit of time to get your NFL style of body and play. And as strong as Carson is, he's not getting hit by J.J. Watt in college, especially not where he played. Like, this is a different thing. You got to learn how to take that hit. You got to learn the speed of the game and how to protect your body and how to train your body for NFL week Sundays. This is something that's going to take a little bit of time. I 100% agree with you. A competent backup, to me, I would find the absolute smartest fucking quarterback available.
What if that's Nick Foles?
That's a real big thing. Like, that's all over sports radio right now. If you restructure that and give him a little bit and maybe flip him, I don't know. But
it's such a tough.
I think you have to get rid of Nick Foles if Carson's your guy. Like, if we lose first round of the playoffs, if we get in.
Yeah, like I put a question out. I put a question out on Twitter this week. Is there any chance that both Carson Wentz and Nick Foles can be on the team this year? And it was almost split 52-48 no. 52% said no, 48% said yes. And
it was 784 votes for all you people.
Yeah.
This is the big discussion of, topic of discussion, because everybody loves Nick Foles, because of what Nick Foles has done, winning the Super Bowl, winning 2 games that they should have never won. My question, here we go. If the Eagles would have won the Dallas game, would Carson have started the LA game? Do you think like that they went to Foles because
season was basically over.
The season was over.
Yeah.
Nobody thought we were going to beat LA. Let's get Carson healthy. Now you win these 2 games and you get to week 17. It's like, okay.
Well, they made that decision real quick. They were like, Nick Foles is still our quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to ride the hot hand.
Okay, but then the big question becomes if everything falls out, if the Eagles beat Washington, the Bears beat the Vikings, Carson Wentz gets cleared to play, who is starting in Chicago? Like, if Carson Wentz is dressing, I don't think Carson cannot be the backup. I just don't, mentally that's not going to work well with him. And I think that's where issues will abound if that's the route that Doug Peterson and the Eagles decide to take.
I think you got to start Carson. Give him a quarter, see how he's playing. If he's not playing that well, if you feel that the team could be doing better with Nick, then you make the switch at that point.
I don't know. I mean, to me, I would. And I'm going to flip because I said last week on our show that I said the minute Carson's healthy, you put him in. But I feel like at this point, with the way that Foles is playing, just like you mentioned, riding the hot hand, and like what you mentioned, the mental aspect of things, at a certain point, I think you got to go to him and say, hey, look, we got to take a step back right now. We got to make sure that you're truly right. I don't know that you can't make him the backup for a playoff run if he's not 100%. Mariota was the backup a handful of regular season weeks, right, because of his elbow fucking thing. And I know that the 2 very, very different quarterbacks and 2 very different pictures in terms of regular season and postseason. But
he also barely could feel his hand, like his throwing hand. That was.
I'm just like there are quarterbacks who they are theoretically healthy enough to play, but do they give their starting quarterback theoretically healthy enough to play where they don't want to risk it right now? I do think he's mentally tough enough, by the way.
I don't think. See, I agree. Like, there are quarterbacks that look, I'm not injured, I'm hurt, but I'm available.
Exactly.
So let him start. I get it, but I think in his head, in Wentz's head, if he is available, if he can dress, he's going to want to play.
Well, it's the same way with all of us, but
but you like Mariota is willing in his head. He's like, all right, I get it. I know I can play, but I'm not able to start. So let him go, and if I have to get in there, I have to get in there. Emergency situation. I just think that Wentz is more of a if the doctor clears me, because he was clamoring to play last week. He wanted to play. He wants to get out there.
Sure.
He wants to be on the field. If he's going to be in uniform, he's not going to want to hold the clipboard. He's not going to want to dressed in uniform. He's not going to want to sit on the sideline to be the backup. This is his team. In his head, they drafted him number 2 overall to lead the franchise. And if he's going to dress, it's going to be, I want to be on the football field.
The easiest way to make this right is to sit there and evaluate fully what you believe your ceiling is for the remainder of this year, week 17, and possible postseason or playoff run with each guy. And what it means for the long haul for the franchise. And if you believe that, hey, if we can catch lightning in a bottle, it's probably going to be with Nick. I think that you have to go to Carson and you have to go to the media and you have to say, we're shutting him down. We're taking this decision away.
Why haven't they done that yet? If that's what they were going to do, they should have did it 2 weeks ago.
They should have done it 2 weeks ago if they believe that. And
I mean,
obviously it's not a fucking bad thing that Nick Foles wins against fucking LA and Houston. That's fucking awesome. I get to watch football. It matters.
They wanted to keep him available because of what happened last week. He got hurt. Jadeveon Clowney speared the hell out of him. And, say theoretically, he wasn't able to come back. Wentz would be starting against Washington. If Foles was hurt to the point where he couldn't play this upcoming week,
they weren't going to give that ball to Sudfeld.
Starting Wentz.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, Wentz would be starting this week, so that's why they haven't put him on IR. But it's getting to a point where if the doctors are going to clear him and Doug has to make that decision, you have to fight do you want to win now or do you want to hurt Carson Wentz's feelings? That's what it's going to come down to. And obviously everybody wants to win, but do you risk poisoning your franchise quarterback in terms of will he want to stay? Because we all think after this year, Foles is gone. And it's going to be Wentz, but in the back of Wentz's mind, we know that, we have him under contract for 2 years. Then you can franchise him for another 2 years. So, in theory, he's here for another 4 years. But he's going to be very unhappy, and you do not want an unhappy franchise quarterback.
Here's something to consider, though. All the games that Foles has started over the years, all the do-or-die games, the offense has never left the field
without the lead.
In any do-or-die game, that includes the last two.
Game, yeah.
And the Saints game, the playoff game they lost a field goal at the last second.
Yeah, he has a certain big game pedigree about him that's at this point undisputed. Just like you said, it's looking back over the course of his career in these moments, something about that elevates him, and elevates the guys around him. So it's a lot to say about the locker room too, but to me, I still don't see in Carson the type of player who is, or the type of person and human being, I should say, that is going to sit there and be the unhappy fucking problem child in the locker room and throw a fucking fit because they went with a hot hand.
He's not going to show it, but
I know how difficult it is to handle, but I get the impression that he has the ability to do so. Like there are fucking Cam Newton. If this shit happened to him right now, send his ass to the moon. He's dead. He's never going to play football again because he can't fucking handle life. Carson Wentz, on the other hand, I believe if there's a quarterback in the league right now, a young quarterback who is successful, who last year had the run that he had, the team put the exact same situation with almost anyone else, I would pick Carson every single day of the week to be the guy who can bounce back mentally.
He also said that run, it got to him. That it wasn't
him.
Of
Course it does.
But it's happening 2 years in a row to the same guy.
They're not getting the Super Bowl.
I'm just saying, the same thing that happened last year, that run that Foles went on, it's happening again this year. They win 2 improbable games that they should not have won. He's going to start Week 17 with the opportunity to go to the playoffs. If they make the playoffs and he starts against Chicago and they beat Chicago to get to the divisional round, all this is Wentz is saying, again, this is happening to me again. It's going to affect anybody.
I feel like Wentz is the kind of guy who, he's going to get frustrated by that. But
everyone.
I feel like he's the kind of guy who could channel that frustration and do something positive with it. As opposed to just letting it get to him.
With a healthy offseason, too, I do still see Carson as a fuck you guy. And I mentioned this last week or the week before on our show. I don't for a second believe that it's going to get to the point where it's fueling him negatively to where he is going to no longer be a competent NFL quarterback, or that he can't succeed in Philadelphia, or that he can't succeed in this locker room with these guys and this coaching staff. I don't see that at all. I want him to be pissed off. I want him to watch this and be like, motherfucker, you're doing this with my team, with my offense. You're more successful than I am right now. I'm a more talented quarterback. I truly believe that. How can I get this back? He wasn't healthy for a single snap this year to the level that he obviously was last season. He's coming back from, as you alluded, a very difficult surgery with 2 ligaments in the knee. That LCL is the one that complicated it further. Then the back. He didn't have an offseason. He didn't get to gel with some of these guys. Half the team were still coming back from injuries from last year. So much worked against Carson Wentz's offense and this team this year. And they just all kind of happened to fall into a better place at the right time for everyone but Carson. If there is a young quarterback in the game that could face this type of adversity and come back and be successful for next fucking season or fucking tomorrow, I'm betting on Carson Wentz.
We're gonna see, and then this is a discussion that we're gonna have all off season. So we're definitely gonna table this, and we'll continue it after the playoffs, or at least until after the Eagles season starts. I want to jump into this upcoming weekend's games: Eagles at Redskins, Bears at Vikings. Niners at Rams. I think it's Niners at Rams. It's one of them. Niners at Rams.
At Rams.
They're all at 425. I think we all agree that the Eagles, if the Eagles lose to Josh Johnson, they have no right to be in the playoffs anyway. So they should beat a Redskins team that I think is quitting. They got rid of their second, third best defensive player in DJ Swearinger.
I'd have picked the phone up.
If you were he got claimed by Arizona, and Arizona had the number 1 claim waiver claim, so he was
hilarious. They pick up Reuben Foster, and they're like, "Nah, don't back."
And the other 2 teams that put a claim on were the Raiders and the Packers, so the Eagles would have never gotten him. But I would have made the call too. the Rams and the Niners. Everybody's expecting the Rams to blow out the Niners. Todd Gurley might not play. The Niners actually, going into halftime, have been close in most of their games. So we want the Niners to keep it competitive for at least 3 quarters.
Their fucking golden child over there and their coach. He's not the best big game coach so far either.
Oh, yeah.
McVay,
that's true.
Kind of disappears. Some of the creativity and success there, not so great.
Goff hasn't been lighting the world on fire last few weeks.
Goff's not that good anyway. And
he's a system guy through and through.
When you have all those type of weapons, I keep saying give Carson Wentz to Todd Gurley or Zeke Elliott, and let's see how well he does. Give him a number 1 legit running back, and I bet you Carson Wentz is already legit. Carson Wentz is going to go to the moon if he got weapons like that. The big game, the Bears at the Vikings. The Bears cannot scoreboard watch. Matt Nagy coached with Doug Peterson in Philly and in KC. They have Trey Burton and Chase. They have guys that have Philly connection. They need to win it for us. They need to win that game for us.
It's in Minnesota, though, so you know that they're going to be posting that Rams score all over the place.
So, my question, the Bears kind of control this. If the Bears win and we win, they get us. If the Bears, if the Bears lose to the Vikings, they get the Vikings the next week. Do the Bears want to face the Vikings a third time, or do the Bears want to face a team who nobody really is going to want to play?
No one should want to play the Eagles.
If the Eagles get into the playoffs, the Eagles and Seattle are 2 teams that nobody in the NFC wants to play.
Absolutely.
The Seattle, I book it, guarantee 110%, they're going to destroy the Dallas Cowboys. The Eagles are going to win a playoff game before Dallas does, even if the Eagles don't make the playoffs this year. The Eagles are going to win a playoff game before Dallas does. Seattle is going to obliterate Dallas in the first round of the playoffs. But Seattle and the Eagles are the 2 teams nobody in the NFC wants to face. If you are Chicago, who do you want to play? Do you want Minnesota at Soldier Field, see them a third division opponent, or do you want to see the reigning defending Super Bowl champs come in?
I've always been big on not fucking facing a divisional 3 times in a row. It never sits right with me. Like, you lose 2 or 3, or God forbid 3 out of 3 on those teams, and one of those
Dallas
exactly. Like, that is the worst fucking off season that you will ever go through. Like, you could go to the Super Bowl and lose, and you're like, all right, we got the Super Bowl. Like, this is a shitty end of the season, but hey, we didn't lose to a fucking divisional opponent 3 goddamn times and end our season that way.
Well, they beat them the first time, though.
So I'm just saying, like, lose 2 or 3, whatever. But yeah, I mean, not that. Just like you said, not that you would want to play the Eagles, but I would prefer the Eagles.
Especially the way the Eagles Eagles are playing right now.
And knowing the controversy. Because if they're still not committing.
Can I tell you something, though? That Bears offense doesn't scare me as much
why?
as...
I don't know why. They do scare me, man.
The Bears
struggled
offense...
a lot against San Francisco.
The what?
They struggled a lot against
San
Francisco.
The Bears offense, I don't trust Trubisky.
I do.
I don't, their receivers are...
I trust him against us because the man can run.
Tariq Cohen, he's probably him in the run game, but our run defense has gotten better over the last couple of weeks. So, the way Fletcher Cox has been playing, and then what Lane Johnson did against J.J. Watt last week,
fucking filthy.
Yeah,
Lane Johnson as Khalil Mack will be awesome.
Hurt through most of the year. Got the knee issue.
He is playing to the legit all-pro level right now.
Yeah, that's filthy. For as much as he struggled early on.
Yeah, he talked about how frustrated he was not making the Pro Bowl team. That 3 o'clock in the morning he's driving to the facility. Not able to sleep, going to the facility because he's so pissed off. That showed. And it showed. He one-on-one against J.J. Watt is not an easy task for anybody. And did you hear J.J. Watt's name at all? Like maybe once the entire game. He did a hell of a job, So, okay, the Bears' offense, doesn't faze me as much as as you. It seems for you, Shane. I think that it would be an incredible matchup, but it comes to the Bears. Who do the Bears want to face? The third time against the Vikings, as I asked before, or you want the Eagles? And you mentioned, Shane, you don't ever want to play a team 3 times. Like, go up against a different opponent. Nagy knows Doug Peterson. He knows. Nick Foles from the Kansas City days.
The whole fucking world knows the controversy at this point. And the non-committal fucking, is it Carson? Is it Nick? Is it Carson? Is it Nick? Is it whatever? Fan base. Look, man, as scary as it fucking is to be, we should play. I want to play the Philadelphia Eagles.
So, all right. So we're not going to do our pick segment today, but Rams Niners, who's winning? Rams.
Obvious.
Is it going to be a blowout early to where the Bears, to where the Bears look at the scoreboard and then pull people, or is it going to be at least a 3-quarter game?
Niners hang with them until halftime.
It's just like you guys both mentioned, man. Keeping it close for the first half, and I do not fucking trust McVay. And just
that
like you
said,
said,
San Francisco,
Gurley's not playing. So
yeah, Gurley
maybe
most likely won't play.
Not playing.
All right, so I guess where are we with LA? We all picked the Eagles to win. Chicago, Minnesota, take heart out of it. It's your head. Do the Bears play the entire game? And if the Bears play the entire game, the Vikings are 6.5 point favorites in the game, and I think that's the money line or the Vegas saying the Bears are going to kind of take it easy in the second half and take their guys out, and that's why the Vikings are favored. Is that what's going to happen, or are the Bears going to actually help us out and come away with the win?
The Bears are going to help us out. Have you seen how bad Kirk Cousins' record is against 500 teams? It's pretty fucking bad. And I think that it's at the point where the Bears could even, play their backups for the second half and they'd still
Not
win.
with Chase Daniels, quarterback. Chase Daniels awful. Chase Daniels so bad.
He's robbed the NFL, man.
Chase Daniels so bad. Bears Vikings.
What's up?
Bears Vikings.
I'm taking the Bears too.
So the Eagles sneak into the playoffs this week?
Look, that's the hope.
They finagle
Here we go.
into the playoffs.
Now, if the Eagles win, Vikings lose, and Seattle loses, I think, I'm not 100% sure, there's a chance the Eagles get the 5th seed and they play Dallas week 1, and they play Dallas in the wild card round. Or
I'd rather play the Bears in Dallas.
Yeah, I don't think it works out like that.
Because
Seattle's
Seattle's a better conference right
That
now.
would mean that if Seattle lost and we won, that we would jump into the playoffs over them, I believe.
Okay, yeah. So Seattle will play Dallas, the Eagles will play the Bears. I really wish we get Dallas. Yeah. I wanted Dallas the wild card round because all the fraudulent, unintelligent Calturd fans, and we beat them, and they can just go to hell and shut up. That'd be awesome. That would be really.
Well, maybe we could do that in the conference championship.
Well,
the Cowboys won't get that far though.
Well, the Cowboys are losing their first playoff game.
Yeah.
Like I said, even if the Eagles don't make the playoffs this year, the Eagles are going to win a playoff game before Dallas.
The Eagles can miss the playoffs 10 years in a row and win a playoff game.
Well, the only good thing about Dallas winning the NFC East is Coach Clapp and Dak and Dak Down are all staying for at least 5 more years, and that means mediocrity in Dallas.
Yep.
And it's so good because and Eli is staying in New York. Dan Snyder is still the owner of the Redskins. The Eagles have a pathway if they can get healthy. They have a pathway to more division championships and hopefully Super Bowl runs if they can keep the team semi-intact, with the salary cap.
Before we do sign off, we've gotten so far pretty good feedback. We do have a brand new website. We have articles coming back out. We are finally releasing articles every week again. Please continue to subscribe to the show, rate and review the show.
Give us 5 stars.
Or Rob will hunt you down. But the website is www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. Again, you can find our show on there. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Be sure to, like I said, submit a review, put actual words and substance and thought into it, and we'd appreciate it.
Yeah. And Eagles have a shot to clinch a playoff berth this weekend. We're going to be back after the new year. We will have a recap of Eagles-Redskins, and hopefully have a preview of an NFC wildcard matchup against the Chicago Bears. For Rob, for Shane, I'm LJ. Go Eagles! Thank you for listening to the Always Next Year podcast.